Good evening, or should I
Hello.
say good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Welcome to number 5, Wicked Women. How you doing, girls?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Kylie?
Wonderful now.
Very good, lovely. We are hoping Val will join us. We haven't seen or heard from her yet, but she would want the show to go on, so I'm sure she'll join us if she can tonight. Bless her. So how's your week been?
How about you, Carly? How's your week going?
Oh, for me, it's been, I I like to have an accent turned on when I talk to you, Wendy, because your accent is just so fun. But my weekend has been rather shitty, as I think Wendy might say.
It's very true. We do use that all the time. It's very shitty, but
It's been rather shitty, but now that we're here, I feel pretty and better.
how's your week been, Kay?
It's been great. Like we were chatting about earlier today, it's hot here. It's beautiful in Canada. I was enjoying the sunshine today. I really had to take a little me time this weekend. So sat outside, caught some sun rays, played in the backyard with Cruz, my son. It was good. It's good.
It's been a difficult week in lots of ways in my world. My little man is not too well, so he's got a procedure this week. So I'm a little bit stressed over that. And I was so tired last week after last week's show that I actually think to myself, how the hell did I do that? It's kind of like, hi, I'm here.
You pulled it off, though.
So what I wanted to do first is actually, obviously Val's not here, so I'm going to make her do it whenever she joins us. But is introduce ourselves a bit, because obviously Carly was with me on the first show, and we kind of had a little mini version. But Kay obviously now has come along and joined the goddamn crew, and we're loving it. We're loving it. So I'm going to come to you, Carly, first of all, because I love coming to you first.
Always.
Tell us just a bit about yourself, your life, and what made what you bring to Wicked Women.
Well, I tend to bring a lot of medical knowledge to Wicked Women because medical issues, from health of my own chronic illnesses and issues, as well as my special needs daughter who's medically complex. And then it also goes into initiating with my education, which, as I was stating earlier, if we want to be all wordy about it, I have my associates in criminal justice, and I also have my Bachelor of Science in Public Affairs with a criminal justice and environmental policy double major, a pre-law minor, and then I started graduate school for environmental policy. And then my lovely miracle special needs daughter came along and surprised us. Prior to that, I did 911 dispatching. I worked with people with special needs, which helped with my daughter now myself because she has a G-tube and all kinds of things. So I bring a wealth of knowledge, but I bring a ton of medical knowledge and criminal justice.
You do indeed. And this woman you need to hire if you have problems.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that, Carly.
Thanks, Carly.
Kay, let's come to you. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, so what I bring to Wicked Women, I have, as you, Carly, have a lifetime of medical knowledge acquired through my own personal journey with health and healing. I've had tons of illnesses, chronic, my entire life. As you know, Wendy, the last 3 years was a pretty detrimental journey, almost lost my life twice. So just all the dark night of the soul experience that I have, that I like to help people, find the joy and the suffering in that aspect. But from the wordy perspective, as we're talking about, I am a professional counselor, and I'm going to complete my PhD going into next year. I want to go back and finish it. So I had to take some time off just to obviously get my health things in order. But I'm feeling great now. And outside of that, I have Reiki Masters. I've done certifications in sound healing, breathwork facilitation, meditation. The list goes on. So I feel like I have a lot to bring to our show.
You both do. You both do. I mean, really do. And it's like people obviously know me through Robertson, so they're kind of aware, but I'll just go over it again briefly. So I bring 53 years of life's and hard knocks. I trained as a counselor, so I'm a professional counselor, and I have worked in areas probation, prison, domestic violence, assault, rape, drugs, alcohol, AIDS, and occult. So I've worked in all those areas, and it was a privilege to be able to help anyone I could in those areas. I also, 2 marriages, 2 miscarriages, lots of ill health all my life, in and out, like you, Kay, like you, Carly. I suffer with lots of health conditions, autoimmune. And I'm also a clairvoyant and a reader. So we all bring something to it, and I know Valerie brings something to it as well, and I'm sure when she comes in I will get her to come forward with that as well. But I think we do, and I think it was very important that we put this out, because I wanted people to see that we're not just sitting there going, it's Sunday, let's have a podcast. It's about the fact that we do care about this, and we do want to get a message out, and go from there. And talking of this message, while I look at these comments and do all the bits, perhaps Kay, you'd like to tell us about tonight's subject and a bit more about it.
So tonight we are talking about ghosting, and that essentially comes down to ghosting in relationships, whether that be platonic or intimacy. We're going to talk a little bit about how has it affected you? Has it happened to you? Have you done it to others? Kind of the psychological science behind it. How can you overcome ghosting when it happens to you? What are the lessons that you can learn from it, and some techniques to kind of get yourself through to the other side? So lots of things to cover on this topic today. I think it's a pretty big thing that happens. It's really common to happen. And I think it'll be really good to hear from both sides of the coin as to how it feels to do and to be done to.
I mean, Carly, you and I both, and Kay, you know, we've all been there, haven't we? We've all had toxic love, regardless of the relationship.
We have, you know, and like you said, it's not just romantic relationships. It can happen in family dynamics of intimate situations, in fact, indeed. And it can happen without notice. And that's what the whole point of ghosting is. I mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole point is, if you're the one doing it, you're trying to make that person feel completely what? Worthless. Essentially, that's how it makes me feel when I've been ghosted. I know that much.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new term, isn't it? Ghosting, that has come out in the last sort of couple of years. Ghosting, gaslighting, whatever one word. I mean, they're slightly different, but it's a horrible feeling to be ignored, or to have to ignore someone that you truly care about. And sometimes you have to, for a reason. And Kay came up with a very good quote when she said, the worst ghosts aren't the ones that come out on Halloween. They're the ones you befriend or date. And I was like, oh my God, that should be out on one of those quotes on Facebook. And I think, Kay, you're going to have to come out with that one, because it's so true.
Yeah.
I have a Cricut machine. Let's start making little pieces of, you know, wicked women. You know, we're selling our own merch. There we go, merch.
Absolutely. And it is really common, because ghosting is like they just disappear. Or let's look at it one thing at a time. So we're looking at if someone ghosts us, whether it's a lover, friend, or family. All of a sudden, it goes quiet. We don't hear from them. And it's like you go through, are they okay? Are they dead? What's going on? I mean, can you give me an instance, like let's share like an instance where Kay, you were ghosted?
So when I split from my son's father, I hadn't had any time to be on the dating scene. My son also has special needs, so he had been newly diagnosed, and I had just ended my relationship. It was a very, very sensitive time in my life. And I think something that was so horrible was it takes so much, as you know, Carly, to be a special needs, like single mom, and then have to put yourself back on the scene. And all of a sudden there was this man, he was actually my uncle's boss, lived in Texas, and asked my uncle, said, I want to meet your niece. I want to get to know her. Like, we started talking right off the bat. He seemed so into me. He seemed so kind. Came down to Vancouver to visit me. We had the most incredible weekend. And there was all this talk about the relationship continuing on. Literally went back to Texas, and then crickets. And I'm sitting here going, I'm so confused, because A, like the weekend that we just had, all the things you just said, and then B, you're my uncle's boss, like you have to see him now. I was so baffled. And obviously I had so many my own self-love, self-acceptance piece to work on at that time. Like, there was definitely a higher lesson in it of why it happened that I see now. But I was just like, holy shit. Like, I put myself out there thinking, oh, wow, this guy sought me out. He wants to be in my life. He's obsessed. He flew all the way from the US. And then it was just wild. It was wild.
And how did it make you feel when, did you find out the reason why it happened? Did you ever find out?
Well, interestingly enough, I went to go visit my uncle in Texas about 6 months later, and he heard that I was there, reached out to me, had the audacity to say, like, can you leave your son and your mom, come visit me? And I was like, no, you don't even deserve my breath. Like, no, this is not happening. See you later. But when it initially happened, it was, I already was sitting in such heartbreak from the end of my last relationship. And then just to have that kind of pile on top. So you go to, am I not good enough? What's wrong with me? Did I need to do something differently than I did? And then it really starts reactivating triggers of abandonment issues that I had earlier on in life. So there's so many levels and layers. And I also think that another facet of it is it really starts to evoke grief. And that can be secondary, tertiary grief, that you're like, okay, this happened to me before, now it's happening to me again, then it's here. And then you have to re-experience all those moments of abandonment that happened previous to that, little by little. So it's like this person that's barely been in your life, that you're never going to see again, that should have next to no meaning, all of a sudden has triggered all the skeletons in the closet.
They do, though, because when you've been hurt and ghosted by someone, and you then put your heart out there to try again, you tentatively put yourself out there, you've been wounded, you've been damaged, and it's kind of like, do I want to put myself out there? Do I want to try? Obviously this is in a relationship situation, but it's like, I had a situation with, I'm trying to think how long ago it was now, but I met a guy, got on incredibly well with him, really, really well. It was like, it's all going really well. And months down the road, we're all happy and everything was going. And it was just like, disappeared, just disappeared. And it was like, are you dead? And it was like, just let me know if you're dead or not. Did I say something? Did I do something? Because at the end of the day, I was mortified. It really affected me, because here I had put my heart a little bit brave out there and gone, okay, here you go. And it just says a lot, I think, about the person that actually ghosts, and they have a reason for doing it. And then the weird thing is, do you ever find that as time goes on, they get back in touch again, and they go, and you're like, but you ignored me. You didn't want to talk to me. And they're like, hi, how are you? Really upset.
And I think when that happens, it's almost an instance of they want to clear their guilty conscience, because it's like, oh, maybe I had bad karma, or I did this to this person, and maybe I should just go clear the slate. But something that I was thinking when I was doing a little bit of research on this earlier that I found to be so interesting is there's a few things. So there's the 3 different levels of what ghosting is. There's something that's like, you barely really know the person, you maybe had a little bit of a relationship with them, they ghost you. It's not as big of a hit. Then there's kind of like the middle weight, where it's like, okay, you've had minor connection with them, maybe you went on one date, and then the disconnect happens. It doesn't feel nice, the abandonment can come up, but it's like when you get that heavy weight, that you've had the intimacy, you've had the sexual piece, or you've had that really deep platonic soulful connection, and then you get totally blindsided. But the thing that I found so interesting is there's actually scientific studies that relate to it activates the same center of your brain for pain. So when you're feeling that, it's not even just emotional pain. You're actually feeling like this really deep-rooted physical pain that's encompassing your entire body. Like it just feels like that's how it affects your entire system. So I just thought that that was really interesting.
Well, they say that when you have a broken heart, you know, you have brain cells in pretty much every organ, like your gut, your liver, your lungs, your heart, and everything like that. So when you're feeling it mentally, your body is then, it's a trauma, you know, as Sarah quite rightly says in the comments, it is a trauma. For you, Carly, what was it like?
I'm trying to type here in the comments. I apologize. I keep having typos. Like I'm like trying to. I'm not quite to that level yet.
Okay. What about you, Carly? Have you experienced it?
I have, and that's what I was trying to say in the chat, was bringing up a complex PTSD. As many people are aware of PTSD, but not complex PTSD. And complex PTSD is when it is all compounded, and it's when you go through that one traumatic event, and that one traumatic event takes you through that event all the way up until you're 35, 53, however many years old. And every single one of those traumas you relive when you have that complex PTSD activated.
Yeah.
And that is something that I honestly feel like more percentage of the world is currently in than they're not in. And that's what I started typing as well, was fight or flight mode. Because you get put into this defensive fight or flight mode when, say, one, somebody ghosts you, or say two, you're gonna ghost somebody. Say you're gonna be the ghoster. You start projecting your issues that, hey, I ghosted this person, but then you start, you know, projecting it onto, say, your significant other, or, you know, somebody else around you. And these things need to be handled with and dealt with within yourself. And it's hard when it comes to ghosting, because you can't get an answer if you're the one being ghosted. And by all means, with our age and brains now, we shouldn't be having the time or wasting the energy to sit there and continue typing or messaging or calling this person. You just have to let it end and work through it and let it be. And it sucks. But sometimes ghosting is an answer. It's not a good answer.
It's a necessary evil. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Because we're talking about we've been ghosted, but what about those that we've had to ghost? And you know, in my own personal experience, I've had to walk away for some very toxic love in my life, and not just toxic people, but toxic friendships, toxic family members. You know, I've had to walk away from them. So I completely, it was very painful. I didn't think to myself, oh, this is going to be really, really easy to do. It broke my heart. It was, you know, it really was, because I tried talking to them. I tried to work things out. And if it didn't change, or it didn't, you know, alter a situation, sometimes you just have to pull away, and it doesn't make you feel very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and I think in friendships, I feel like there's such a different energy to it in friendships. I really do. And I know they fall under the same category, but I just feel, especially when they've been those friendships that have been there for so long, and there is almost a form of intimacy on like a soulful level, that you're so connected with this person. They've been, you know, your counterpart in so many ways. I've had friends that like, we're just attached at the hip. And then there comes that time that it's like, I just can't carry this in my life anymore, for exactly what you're saying, Wendy. There's just, for your own personal reasons, it just can't work out anymore. And it's tough, because you go, I don't want them to have to feel like I have felt before when somebody has walked out on me. And it can be really hard to just cut that off. So, yeah.
I mean, for me, sorry, Carly, go for it.
Sorry, I was just going to say that it can be really hard, but you know what? In some scenarios, I'm gonna come at you right now. I've had crazy people come after me. So there are times where ghosting people is 110% warranted.
I
So
agree.
unless you have been cyber attacked and had your internet and your router hacked and taken over and your life potentially taken care of an identity theft, I don't want to hear jack shit about what you want to try and say ghosting is. Because coming
Mhm.
from one side or the other, there's a fucking reason for it. And
Yeah.
sometimes there is a reason where you just have to pardon me, Wendy. I do apologize.
Yeah.
But there's a time.
She's a
There's a
wild
time
one. I know
when
what
it's
you mean, because
warranted.
I have a brother. I haven't seen him in many, many years. In fact, I haven't seen him since 2006. And it's a very difficult background. You know, I loved him to pieces, but it wasn't easy. Let's put it that way. And I made the decision to walk away. And it wasn't one that I take lightly. But it's now been how many years? 16 years or whatever, or since then, I don't know. But and I think about him at times, but I don't miss him. Don't miss him at all. And it's like I had to walk away because it was so toxic. So sometimes it is family. Sometimes it is you have to, and you got no other option but to.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing that I want to talk about here is when you look at the reasons why somebody ghosts you, and you're sitting in that place, okay, they've ghosted me, I'm feeling like this. Really look at what do you want to get from, what did you want to get from that person that's ghosting you? Like, and I guess what I'm saying in that is, would have a sea of just useless excuses have felt any better? Like, you're too good for me, or this could have been this, but there's no connection there. Like, really, what is the lesser of two evils within that? Would it have been to have to hear one more time that another type of situation that you think, oh, I'm not good enough? I really think that there is no room for that there. So I agree with you, Carly. I think sometimes it's very warranted for somebody to just be like, okay, let's just cut this, call it a day, and not have to drag it out. I think that there's definitely more responsible ways of doing it in that type of situation, especially if the person hasn't ever done anything wrong to you. But yeah.
It's a very good saying that, when you're in a relationship and they just disappear, right? It's like they're just not that into you, which is that famous line from Sex and the City when I think it was Berger said to Miranda, they're just not into you. And she was like, oh, that makes it so much more easier. But I think it's that closure. Keith is very right where he writes in the comments about closure. Some of us need to have closure and some of us don't. So I think for me, like when we were looking down at the points of what we wanted to talk about today with toxic love, there are people in my life that I wish were in my life right now, and they're not. And I there isn't that communication. That may change as time goes on. It may not, and it breaks my heart either way, because these are people I loved and I cared very, very deeply for. But sometimes you have to just maybe give the space, or you have to move away, or whatever's meant to be will be. But there are also been people that I had as friends. And I know Cassie, if Cassie's watching this, and she couldn't come on today, but basically, she and I have this in common. We both know friends that have been the most toxic of kind of friends, that have stabbed us in the back and then been completely lovely to our face, but behind our back have been stab, stab, stab. And you've had no other option, because when you found out, you're like, what? Why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? And whether it's jealousy, whether it's insecurity, whether the fact that, they prefer to have this kind of two-faced or two-personality persona, or we're used until our what's the word I want to use? Till we've outgrown our service to them. Because we all know friends like that, and it's people have a variety of reasons for ghosting. But But also with toxic love, when you're in a toxic love relationship, be what it is, it's very hard to walk away from someone that you're in love with.
It is.
Very, very hard to actually turn around and say, because those, and this is why I always say about the 3 words, I love you, they are the most powerful and the most deadly words going, and you need to be really careful who you say them to and how you say them to. So I just want to say there's someone trying to come on called Spirit Heart Go. If you could just put message the comments, guys, because we need to sort of see who you are before we let you on. Thank you for that. Perhaps the guys in the comments can actually have a chat with Spirit. So Kate, like, what was your situation? Because the reason why we're sharing it is because there are people going to be watching this tonight that have been in similar situations. And how did you get through it? What, and Carly, you know, while I look at these comments here, what was your experiences of it both?
Well, when it happened to me, when I was talking about my uncle's boss, I don't think I really got through it for a long time. And it wasn't just because I kept holding on to it per se. It was just, I had so much to work on with myself. And I don't even think it was until I went to school and started seeing, okay, this is why I was, I don't want to say attracting, but why I was almost a magnet to these type of toxic individuals that kept coming in, because I hadn't healed, you know, certain issues that I had from abandonment when I was younger. I hadn't healed the issues that I had from my relationship with my son's dad. There was all these different levels and layers. And I kind of just threw myself into work and staying busy and not thinking about it until I got to a point that when I went to school, had my year of, you know, having to do experiential therapies, that I was like, holy shit, like, this is why every single one of these toxic relationships was happening, whether it was platonic or an intimate relationship. That's why these were taking place. And it took a lot of work. And I mean, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, like really hitting it on every single level and addressing what are these pieces within myself that I'm not loving, that I have these other people that are mirroring this aspect to me over and over and over again. So it took a lot of work to go there and see the aspects about myself that I couldn't identify at the time. I think because I just didn't have, I guess I could say I didn't have the emotional maturity, and I was just so stuck in my subconscious limiting beliefs and conditioning. I just couldn't get out of my own way, if that makes sense.
Did you feel really bad though when you moved away, like because you had to, did you feel like the guilt, or did you just feel like I have to do this and not have any comeback?
Are you talking about when it happened in a friendship? I don't think that there was guilt. I think there was a lot of sadness, because again, it goes back to that grief aspect. You're closing the door to a piece of you, not just the person. You're closing the door to a piece of your past that was huge. Like, this person's maybe been in your life for 17, 18, 19, 20 years. And when you close that chapter, it's like, okay, that's me closing the door to this old part of my story that I'm now going to be this new me. So I think if anything, I didn't feel bad about it. I knew that it was time to close that chapter. But it's hard because you're learning how to understand this new person in yourself and not have that support there all the time. And it's almost like you have to unlearn those toxic behaviors yourself. Can you relate with that, Carly?
Yeah, I'm actually over here trying to keep my calm.
Oh my God. Yeah, go for it.
In realizing that in the past 2 years alone, less than 2 years even, oh boy, less than 2 years, I've had to say goodbye, whether that was me being ghosted or them ghosting me, to 3 friendships that were
Wow.
from when I was 18, 17, and 16.
Wow.
I'm 35. So these were 15 plus 16, 17-year-old relationships, friendships, people who I thought were friends. people who I thought were there for me, people who I thought had my back, and come to find out it's the exact opposite of that. They just wanted to do what, I'm sorry, but it's gonna be called out, what most men want to do. They weren't there to be my friend, they were trying to get with me.
I'm afraid that's what they're like. I mean, I must just say hello. Hello, Val.
Hi, Val.
Hey,
You look gorgeous. Are you okay?
I am. It was a long drive to my daughter's house because it's pouring rain.
Well, it's lovely to see you clear and better late than never. And
Yeah.
we obviously, like, we're just talking about the toxic love and ghosting, and it's like, can you give us an experience of when you were ghosted, or you ghosted someone, or a toxic love where you had to ghost that person?
Honestly, it wasn't someone I had just met and knew a very little time. It was more of a long-term relationship. Periodically, he would just cut off and not talk to anybody, not answer his door, nothing. And he would, just, it was ever so often, he would just stop.
And how would that make you feel? What reaction did you have to that?
Well, at first it kind of worried me, of course, not knowing what was going on. After a while, it really hurt the relationship, needless to say.
Yeah.
But, I mean, of course, I'm not in that relationship now, but, it really put a lot of strain on everything because, someone can tell you one thing and then act like that. And it's just, it's not cohesive. So it was a very toxic relationship.
I think it puts you off as well because, like, I've been in, like Val, like all of us, toxic relationships. And when I mean relationships, I'm talking years, and putting up with toxic behaviors because my self-esteem was so low that it was like, I can't walk away, I can't go. And the words "I love you" always come back. And I think there was a guilt. There was also a guilt of me leaving that toxic love because, and I think I even when I left, I went through that whole guilt thing of like, did I do the right thing? And it stays with you. And next time, as I said, you're more than traumatized, because healthy relationships are something that they want. You want to see the person you care about or love succeed in life. When you've got someone that just wants to drain you or use you for what you can give them, or just basically, as Carly would say, get what you want from them.
Yeah. I think from his point of view, it was almost manipulative, to see what I would do, if I would stay, how hard I would try to get in touch with him, how worried I would be, things like that. That relationship started out that toxic because it was kind of just coming out of a divorce type thing. My self-esteem was extremely low.
Yeah.
And again, part of me thought, if I leave, I can't help him. As stupid as that sounds now.
Yeah, I get it.
It's if I'm there, it's like I can keep things from happening or keep him from doing anything, which in reality was just not true. But in those moments, that's what you think.
Well, and I think the other aspect of that is, taking rejection personally is actually what I've learned in the past just through my school was it's actually a subconscious defense mechanism, and it puts you in control, because if you sit there and go, okay, if this belief is my fault, maybe I can change this about myself and maybe it won't happen again. And if I can just figure out what I did wrong, then I can fix myself, versus actually zooming out, seeing the higher perspective in it doesn't always have everything to do about you. Might not have anything to do about you. It's could be based off of that, you know, maybe this person had their own anxious attachment styles. So you were coming on too hard, and what do? That's what they've learned through their entire childhood experience and going forward. This is too much for me. I have to push away, and they just don't have the skill set or aren't emotionally mature enough to actually have those conversations with you to break it clean. It's just too difficult for them. And so in order for them to not have to face the conflict, it's easier for them to just go, okay, swipe. I don't have to see this person again. They're not really involved in my life in a big way. And I think that's why it's almost become an epidemic when we live our lives through socials and technology. And I mean, I don't think ghosting is new. It goes all the way back to, I mean, even watching, I'm sure you remember the movie Sense and Sensibility.
Yes.
She gets ghosted and just her entire life falls apart. So, I mean,
you're right. It's definitely an old thing, but it's a new term. I think it's like before it was just being ignored, you know.
It is a new term, but I think just the way that people approach it when it comes from social media, online dating, technology, it is so easy to just swipe and not have to have that person in your life anymore. And I think that for a lot of people, they don't have that emotional intelligence. They don't have that empathy within them. It's just so easy, like I said, for them to just go, you know what, this just isn't for me. Bye, turn the page. Mm-hmm.
But it's very damaging when you're in a long-term relationship with someone. They do that, and then, you know, 3 or 4 days later, they call you up just like nothing's happened.
Well, it's a form of emotional abuse, and I don't think people see that. Any form of silent treatment is emotional abuse. And what's even worse is when you've been ghosted and then they're still watching your Instagram stories. They're still commenting on your posts, and you're like, okay, you haven't answered my text back in over a month, but you have the audacity to still, whatever this is happening right now. You know, it's
creeper.
Yeah. It's a mind fuck.
There's a few people like that, Carly, out there. We know a few.
Well, and it just shows what they are wanting to gauge your reactions to them not talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you going to stay? Are you going to just be done with it? You know, I think they gauge that by not talking to you. They gauge how much they can manipulate you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, toxic communication, we've all had bits and pieces of that, you know, where someone talks to you like you're a piece of shit, or they criticize, or they're sarcastic with you. They put you down, they run you down, whether it's a friend, whether it's family, because I've had it in family. You know, that's a really big sign of actually saying to yourself, I don't want that. I don't warrant that behavior. And that is a thing where I think people will start don't taking calls. You know, when you think, I just don't want to ring up because I know when I'm going to speak to them, it's going to be all doom and gloom, or it's going to be negative, or it's going to be really, really, what about this, that, and the other. I had a friend a couple of years ago, and we were great friends, her and I. And we used to walk with the dogs together. The dogs got on really well together. Spent every day together. And she had her issues, like we all do. And one day we arranged to see each other. We'd known each other about 2-3 years at this time. And then she just never turned up. And I never saw her again. And you think, and I was like, are you okay? Because I find that so horrible. Because I'm the sort of person where it's like, I don't care whether it takes you 3 hours or 3 weeks to get back to me, but just get back to me and say one thing or another, because that's just me. But sometimes I do understand we can't always have what we want. We can't always have that, and we can't always say it. We can't always say. I mean, my mom, myself, I've situations in my life right now where you think the easiest thing would be to pick up the phone and have a conversation. It isn't. Sometimes you can't pick up the phone because you don't know what to say and you don't know how to change a situation. So you end up not saying anything. And as you do it, time just goes past. And the longer you leave it, the worse it gets.
Well, you know, I think something that I learned through my ghosting experiences, being the ghoster and the ghostie per se, is there is something to just having that self responsibility enough to just say to the person, you know what, I'm having this own experience in my life right now. And I'll give an example. I had a family member, Wendy, as you know, that was extremely ill from a mental standpoint. And it was really hard to have to deal with that every single day. Like you were saying, like if I pick up the phone, it's going to be this. And I was dealing with my own health problems at the time. And I had to learn to set that boundary. And instead of thinking that they might make meaning of I don't care about them or if I don't love them, if I'm not going to pick up the phone, I would either send a voice note or a message and just say, you know what, I'm really just going through this difficult time in my life right now. And I would like to hold space for you. And I just can't right now. I'm sending you my love. I'm sending you my light. It's just at this moment in time, I just need to keep my energy with me. And I think that there's nothing to that. And even one of my best friends right now, she's going through an extremely difficult time. And I was so grateful for her to send me a message the other day. And she just said, you know what, I love you. I'm thinking of you. I just don't have the capacity to talk to anybody right now. And it's nothing to do with you. It's just me. And there's nothing to that. There really isn't. So anyway, that's my take on it.
No, I think it's a very good point. And, you know, the thing about something that's toxic is that it's how it makes you feel. Because if it's not making you feel that way, then it may not be under the toxic thing. But we've all loved people that are arseholes and toxic. We've all had friends who have used and abused us and taken, or whatever you want to call it, have been toxic. We've even got family members that have been toxic. What about when they have been toxic to us in the family and friends, and they want to come back into our lives? What do we do to make sure that that doesn't happen again, Carly?
Yeah, always me first with the
Always you,
difficult
Cal.
ones.
Yeah.
Well, you know, having said going through situations like this far too close to home, I was estranged from my half sister for quite a while. It had nothing to do with me. I was not involved in the situation at all that happened, but there was a situation that went down, and essentially my older sister ghosted me. And it was really hard.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I didn't know how to deal with it. And so finally, after enough time had passed, I want to say like probably at least 6 months or so. I'm not somebody that's like, oh, it's been 6 minutes. Like I waited quite a while, and because there was some heated stuff. I'm not going to go into those details because I wasn't involved in that part of the situation. But needless to say, I did reach out to her because we are half blood. She is my half sister. She might not have grew up with me because she's 16 years older than me. So she might not have grown up with me and everything, but she's half blood. She's my sister. So I reached out and we talk. We haven't seen each other since all of this went down. So that's been like probably over 7 years now.
Wow.
And we occasionally talk, you know, like she has nephews. I have nephews. I went up there, and when she was going back to work, she's a nurse, and I took care of my nephews while she was working. And now one of my nephews is in college, and the other nephew is going to be graduating high school, and I haven't seen him, and it's really hard. So I'm going to try reaching out to her again. We're not on like the estranged basis anymore. We did make touch. We did make contact, and we have been in touch via text message. There may have been one phone call here and there over the past, like I said, like 7 years, but It's tough. And for me, I'm not somebody that can handle being ghosted very well, if you couldn't tell. I am the type A personality and I like to take control and take charge. And to have somebody do that to me is not something that I tolerate very well, because you sit there, like you said, well, what did I do? What could I have said? What could I have done differently? What, this, that, and the other. And I have friendships that are that way too. And I've come to learn and realize that, especially today, I'm just trying, pardon my language, but everybody in the world is not doing well right now. I have not been keeping up with my astrological things like I usually do. I am not as well versed in that. I will straight up say that. But I don't know if Mercury is in retrograde right now, where the moon status is right now. But every single person I talk to right now is not doing well. And it's
Yeah.
not just, oh, hey, I'm doing bad. It's like literally their whole life is in shambles. Everybody that I'm talking to, and I talk to a lot of people. So if that wants to give anybody else a gauge on yourselves, because I'm always constantly working on myself, and the mental side of it comes with the physical side of it, because if you hold on to that stuff with trauma, it's going to manifest itself physically, and you're going to start becoming chronically sick like me. Unless you actually start doing the inner work.
That's very true. I think all of us can say, well, we've all got health issues, all of us. And I think that, it does anything with like trauma, it goes internally, it goes inwardly. I mean, Val, you've got fibromyalgia. I mean, have you had someone come back into your life that you had to ghost, or they ghosted you, or it was toxic? And how did you deal with that? Did you have that situation on?
Actually, I've had a lot of family members that I've had to just, completely stop being around, stop talking to, just completely, just cut them off of my life. Just for the fact that when I was around, it was not a good environment, for me psychologically or physically. So, I've had friendships that way. And, it does hurt to cut somebody off that way, but it's in the long run, it's what's best for yourself.
And if they came back, what would you feel about that?
I think if they tried to come back the way they were before, it would just be no. On a very limited situation, I would probably talk, but not, it would never go back to the way it was. It would be very limited.
Trust
about
is
any kind of conversation.
Because trust is the big one, isn't it? I mean, when they've hurt you.
Yeah.
But I mean, what happens when we find ourselves in a situation, Kay and I have discussed this, when you're in a situation and it's stalemate and you're not talking to each other, you can't seem to break the deadlock because you don't know what to say or do, or things might have happened, or things might have been said. How do you get over the pain of being ghosted, and how do you get over the pain of not speaking to this person, especially if you still have that connection? And when we're talking about connection, I mean, like, you care about that connection. Okay, like, what do you do?
Well, to go back to your last question, because I didn't give my take on that, what I wanted to say is all of us having the health issues that we have, one of my biggest lessons that I had to learn along the way was there had to be a forgiveness piece, because every grudge held gets somatically held in organs of the body, and just completely always harboring that, you know, this person hurt me, they totally uprooted from my life, they did this and that. I had a very, very close family member that was close to my best friend that ghosted me for 3.5 years of my life over a situation that is personal to me. I'm not doing it. And when they wanted to come back, in, there was a few factors at play. One, there was that self-forgiveness piece of whatever role I played in it. 2, there was the piece that I wanted to have forgiveness towards them. 3, I had to understand how much personal growth I had done in my own right. And 4, that they also had come to another place in their own lives. So they had done the inner work. I had done the inner work. Did it mean that it was going to go back to how it was initially? No. There needed to be, again, the trust, the respect, all of those facets rebuilt again. But I was coming from a place of, okay, you know what? They've done all the work. They're a different person now. I've forgiven. I haven't forgotten. I've forgiven, but I'm in a different place now. And how can we now reapproach this in a new light, in a fresh start, without having to hold that grudge of the past? So that's my take on that. The question that you were just asking, what do you do when there's a stalemate? I did have that in the past. There was a stalemate. I don't like there to be bad blood left, especially when it comes to very close friendships. I've always wanted to leave it at least on a positive note. I did reach out. I did say, you know, we've had this incredible friendship for a very long time. Obviously, there was a big blow up that happened. There was a big fight. I don't want it left this way. They chose for their own reasons to not have that conversation. And again, I wanted it to be that there was closure, and apparently they didn't. And that's okay. We were in 2 entirely different places. So I think it comes down to, when do you finally break the silence and one has to give and just say, listen, are we calling this a day? Are we deciding what's in our best interest for us to not have this friendship anymore, or to say that we're putting on a pause? Sometimes that needs to happen in order for healing to happen. So I don't know if it's necessarily ghosting. It's just sometimes I don't think people have the tools to convey where they're at. It's too hard for them to, again, face that conflict, to have that difficult conversation. And of course, we hurt over that. It sucks. It's awful for it to feel that way. But again, everybody's on their own journey. Everybody here in Earth School is here to learn their own things along the way. And maybe that stalemate is happening because you're energetically in an elevation and they're not. And it's just very hard to connect on that same level. So in that sense, I've told you, Wendy, my take on your situation. And I truly think maybe time is what is needed right now.
They say that time's a healer. And one thing I was thinking about, Val, just now, is like, what happens when your kids ghost you? Because, you know, my mum's in a similar situation with my brother. He just walked away and has no contact. What happens when your kids ghost you?
I have no experience with that. Thankfully, mine do not. But I think that would hurt, you know, much deeper.
Yeah. The reason obviously, like you guys, sadly, I don't have children, but you guys do. And it's like, when your kids grow older and then grow up and they make their own mind and they do their own thing, and they sometimes go down a path that you think, or it's not going to happen. And do you actually? My brother walked away from the family. He never said why he was walking away or anything like that. My mum's had to deal with that every single day. Mother's Day comes, no cards. Christmas comes, he sends Christmas cards to everybody else in the family or other gifts. Or not me, obviously, but ignores her. That must be like a knife in the heart to my mother.
Oh, absolutely.
And as a mum, you guys are all mums. Carly, it must be like, you can only, I know your little one's only little right now, but you can imagine the pain that must cause.
Yeah, and that also that comes as like a triple-edged sword when you're asking me that, because there's that third leg of the fact of my child is special needs and she'll
Yep.
probably be living under my roof for the rest of my life. So my child doesn't even have the capacity to ghost me, but I do have experience with ghost family and ghosting and things like that happening, and I'll say it from both sides. Sometimes it's needed. Sometimes the space and the time does heal wounds, but sometimes I think that's a goddamn fucking lie. And not all fucking wounds can be healed, pardon my language, but
Very true.
when they are that deep rooted, that deep seated, that significant, impacting, compounding, I don't know. I have too much to say. It's a very touchy subject.
Well,
I hear you. Just briefly, I don't have children, so I'm not a mum, but I can imagine that if I did have a child and that child then just, whatever, it would break my heart. It hurt deeply. And so I understand, I can put my empathy out. And obviously, Kay, you're a mum too. So I imagine for you, it would be devastating.
Well, my dad's had a lady that's worked with him for over 25 years, and she was an incredible mom. And unfortunately, when her and her husband split, it caused a lot of unrest in the family. And just because of that toxic breeding from the father, constantly instilling these negative messages, poisoning the son's brain over and over again, he essentially went to court and, sorry, my brain is faulting on me. I can't remember what happens when, essentially he divorced his mom and said, I don't want you to be in my life anymore. And to watch what that did to her mentally, emotionally, physically was absolutely heartbreaking, because I saw what an incredible mother she was. And she deals with that every single day and is alone. When you've spent your entire life up into that moment just giving your all and doing everything you can for that child, and then to just have them just walk like that, and it coming from a place that it should never have happened that way. We never know the reasons as to why that it happens, but it like I said, it's just absolutely heartbreaking to watch that. And I really hope that never happens with my son. But again, I don't know how long my son will be with me, and I hope that day never comes.
Yeah, my mum says it's like a constant. Although she's got used to it over the years, he's walked right past her and just blanked her like she doesn't exist. So it's awful. The one thing as well that we've talked about boyfriends, we talked about friends and family and everything, but dating websites are well known to be full of ghosters. And for instance, you'll have all these people that seem emotionally available. I'm up, let's date, let's see each other, let's go on a date. And you're like, this is it. This is looking all good, I'm in there. And then you've got piles and piles of messages. You might have even swapped some photographs. And ladies, do not swap those kind of photographs to begin with, right? But you swap photographs, and then you go on next day, gone. This man this person has deleted their account or decided you have not much in common, and you're like, I haven't even got off the starting block. I haven't even got off the starting block, and I've been put down. And I would say that there are and I have to bring this in because it's something I experienced very, very recently, in the last sort of couple of years. You're on the dating site, you chat to these people. There are so many emotionally unavailable people that think they're available, but but actually they're not, and there's someone else. You're a swipe away from being forgotten about. So when you're on those sites, and it continually happens, I'm not saying it happened to me, but other people have had experiences where every time I talk to them, they just disappear. It can give you trauma. It can give you, what's the point? Nobody wants me. No, they all think I'm horrible or something like that. It's a really horrible situation.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is.
I don't go on them, so
You're not missing much, Val.
I mean, I have in the past, many years ago, but
did you and Wendy collaborate on your outfits? We just connected psychically, right?
you can tell how opposite.
Sarah says, as I get older, I find the quality of men in the dating pool shrinks. You reach the point where you look at someone and think, what is going on? Actually, I tend to think, is there anything going on in there? Because, you know, and that's something I think we should look at, you know, in the next episode coming up, whenever, is the dating world, because we've all had experience of it, regardless of it, and it is a nightmare. And I'm sure we've all got some great stories. Now, before we end the show and go to the afterglow, which we all love, because that's when we bring the other people on. If I ask Val, let's start with you, my darling. If you had anything to say to someone who's going through right now being ghosted by someone or in a toxic situation, what would be your advice?
I think the main thing is to take that time and deal with your own issues and try to come to a place where you're okay being by yourself, not talking to, you know, people all the time, and not to take everything personally, you know, because it's 9 times out of 10, it's not that person, it's the person ghosting them that has the problem.
Yes.
So, you know, I have, you know, with some of my friends, I don't talk to for months, and then we'll have a conversation. But it's not, they're ignoring me. It's just, you know, it takes a while. If you reach out to that person that is ghosting you and they don't answer, then, you know, I mean, you just have to kind of let it go and see how it plays out. But I think it's a good time for you to work on yourself, you know, to not be affected so much by what other people do.
I think that's
how other people act.
Very good point. Don't let yourself be affected by someone else, although it is, we are affected, but don't let yourself.
Of course.
You know.
I mean, of course it affects you, but I think you can handle how other things affect you. You know, it takes time, of course. But
self-care is more important than taking care of someone else, because if you don't take care of yourself, guess what? You can't take care of anyone else.
Yeah.
But I think that's important to not turn blame on yourself, but, you know, just accept that they may have the problem and not you.
Yeah.
You know,
and Kay, what would you say? What would be your, if you had to give from your own experience, what would you say?
I think there's a couple things. I totally agree with you, Val. I think, you know, there's a huge piece about not blaming yourself and using it as a learning experience to kind of silence that mean inner critic that comes up, have more love and compassion towards yourself, speaking to yourself with more, you know, self-love and empowering words. The second probably would be give yourself time to grieve and understand, especially if it's been a very intimate or long-standing relationship, honor those feelings of, you know, sadness, anger, loss, and grief that come up. Give yourself the time to really, you know, feel into those emotions in order to heal them. Another aspect would be, you know, give up the idea that you're always going to get closure from the ghosting, because a lot of the times I don't think that will necessarily happen. And you might need to do some sort of ritual healing technique or modality that essentially allows you to gain that closure from yourself. I think, you know, do other things that bring that light out in you again. Focus on your health and your wellness. Really focus on turning inward, doing the inner journey, like working on your passions and goals. Really open yourself up to healthy connections, because I think when we go from that place of abandonment and I'm not valuable, I'm worthless, all those old limiting beliefs that kick in, making you feel unworthy and not enough. I think the thing that really elevates you within that is, really reaching out for support from your friends to reestablish, to see that you do have healthy love in your life. So where the toxic love you're removing, you replace with healthy connections. And lastly, I think, seeing a therapist, a healer, a counselor, really important to, sometimes it's hard to do that deep inner work. Wendy, you've seen me through my journey for the last 8 or 9 years. And I've consulted with you so many times. I've consulted with, my spiritual mentor, Maggie, so many times. I just think it's so instrumental to have those people to go to those depths with you when you need to heal toxic love, because it can be really, really hard, again, on every single level.
Oh, absolutely. Before I come to gorgeous Carly, I've got to a point where I was there. I came out of a relationship, and even before I come out and it was toxic, I used to go and get readings. Even though I'm a clairvoyant, I used to go and get readings and another reading, and somebody give me guidance, somebody give me help. I just need to see a light at the end of the tunnel, because when you don't want to leave, but you should do it. And it took a long time before someone actually turned around and said, you need to leave the situation. But I think you're right. I think we all sometimes need to ask someone else, and go into a counselor or a therapist, if you can, is a really good thing to do, because you're taking the power back for yourself. Mm-hmm. And you're going, right, you're not taking this from me anymore. I've got the power. And it's like, once you get that power back, and Carly will probably agree with me here, it's a bit like, we have a saying over here, when you grab your balls by the hand, and you've got them in your hand, in your power, it's like they can't hurt you anymore, because you're in some ways, you almost pity them as well sometimes, or you just don't care. The other thing I want to say before we end with Carly's comment was the fact that sometimes the people that are ghosters, they don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. They might be hurting, as Kay said. They might have their own time. They may not be able to pick up the phone, but they want to. And they keep an eye on us through Facebook and Instagram and places like that, because it's a way of keeping a link. It's a way of holding on until life comes round again, where maybe you can put things right, or you can have that communication. It doesn't make it easier, but sometimes, as you ladies have talked about, you have to let them do it. And that's the really hard thing when there's silence, because I'm going through a situation very much similar to that in my life right now, with someone who I love incredibly dearly, and we're not, we haven't spoken for a while, and it breaks my heart every day. I think about them, and it's like I would never cut the cord, and completely push them away, because when someone means that much to you in your life, and they, whatever reason you're at a distance, you always hope that that time will heal all and bring it back. So I do get that. And I think if my advice would be to, time is a great healer, work on yourself. Self-care is very, as Sarah and you guys have said, but also take your power back. Take your power back and realize this isn't always personal. It isn't always about you. It's about that person. Sometimes they've had to do it for their own reasons or whatever, because I always took it personally. It's me. I'm this. I'm shit. I'm crap. I'm whatever this. So Carly, I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. For you to end the comment tonight, what's your view? What would you say to someone?
Oh boy, we've got on so many topics in so many areas of the subject. I'm not quite sure where to begin.
Just go in there, girl. Just go in.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that hits real close to home. So there's a lot of stuff that's a little
I
little
know.
touchy, little too personal, and some other stuff that I can openly talk about, and I can openly say as from like a friend standpoint, realizing that I had to ghost a friend and another one had to ghost me because they happened to be cousins in our family. But like I started to say earlier, I find out that after 16 plus years of friendship, they were only in the friendship for what most men are friends with women for. And I'm sorry, but I don't lie. I just speak the truth.
Mhm.
What are most men here for? It's all they care about. It's
You cracked
all,
me
Oh no.
it's all they care about. So I had to say goodbye to two friends. I had to ghost one of them, and one of them ghosted me. And it was very painful. I'm still working through it.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was better that I get that person the fuck out my life than I keep some motherfucker in my life that's trying to fuck with my life. Like, that shit goes all on all kinds of different levels. Like, I don't think you don't even realize. And that's just coming from a friendship standpoint. So coming from it from both sides, it's hard, it's difficult. Self-care, as Kay was saying and Val were saying and everybody, Sarah in the chat, self-care is number one. If you are not taking care of yourself, if you have not done the inner work, if you have not done shadow work, if you have not healed your past traumas, they will literally manifest physically into autoimmune diseases that begin attacking your body like my own. So take a point from somebody who's 35 but on 22 medications and applying for disability that my cat wanted to say hi, pardon.
That's okay. What I
That
love about
if you
go
don't do the inner work, it's what do you expect? You're gonna be a magnet to all those people that are gonna end up ghosting you because you haven't healed yourself and you're nothing but a ball of trauma. Like yourself, like you were talking about calling that friend. Sometimes you don't want to call that friend because they're just gonna say negative stuff, and sometimes that friend can be me because I got a crazy life. I mean, it's like a Lifetime movie.
But I think what you guys bring, all of us have different energies and we all bring our own knowledge. And, as we started the show tonight, Val, we were, it was a very good point about what we all bring to Wicked Women. And
I was listening.
And it's like, I said, Val, she's not getting out of it. And when she comes in, I'm bringing her in. But it's like, what I love about all you guys, and I'm so honored that you're with me on this journey, is the fact that we've all got very different personalities. We all come from different backgrounds, but we respect each other, even if one of us is more outspoken and one's more submissive or whatever way. It's like we've got each other's back. And that's what we're here for the ladies. We're here to support other women through this show, and for guys to learn about how to look after us and learn about us. So Val, I'm going to bring you in just during this. What do you bring to this wonderful Wicked Women? Because I know, but just for the viewers.
Honestly, I think the main thing is another woman's perspective, another opinion on things, experience on many things.
Yeah.
An ear for anybody who needs it.
A mum, and you've been in abusive relationships too, right?
I have. So, along with the relationship experiences, also the healing of myself, that experience.
Absolutely.
Luckily my 2 daughters don't ghost me. So
and hopefully they never will.
No, they know better. But I mean, they're 25 and 22, so I kind of have their perspective on things also. It's I think it's more experience than anything else, because I have no degrees or anything, but I have a lot of experience.
But you come from the school of life knocks and experience, and you don't always have to have qualifications to actually be in a good place to help someone and guide them.
Right.
And I think that's the whole reason why the dynamic works, because we all come from different, and we've all got each other's back, because I know I could ring up Val probably at 3 a.m. She'd be like, what? and she'll take the call, right? And the same with Kay, and I'm sure with Carly. That's what we're here for. So I would ask the gentlemen that are watching this, when we go into the afterglow, if they'd like to come on and join us. We'd love to hear your stories about toxic love, ghosting, if you've ghosted someone, if you were, or someone's ghosted you, the difference, because it's very nice that a lot of people have given feedback about Wicked Women is that they like the guys' input at the end, because it's like we let them get a word in.
Well, I was going to say something earlier about the children ghosting their parents.
Yeah.
I think in certain situations, that child may have done something that they're embarrassed to talk to their parents about. So they just distance themselves from it instead of, facing what they've done. They find it easier to just not talk to them than possibly come clean about something, or, they have that embarrassment in front of their parents. So I don't think it's always malicious.
No, I agree. I agree. And it's weird because when my eyes shoot across the screen, I'm listening, but it's almost like I'm bringing up all these comments, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I want to put this in as well, because there's some really good comments. I don't know if you guys, can you see them?
I can't.
On the
I've seen them pop up here and there.
Really, really great comments.
I can, but I haven't been looking. I'm not a good multitasker yet.
Anyway, guys, listen, I'm going to take us into Afterglow and invite anyone who wants to come in and share their thoughts and views with it. But ladies, thank you for a wonderful show. I love you lots.
Much love.
And this is where I just like to get my banners out and just go, just saying. Just saying. Look, and also there's another one here that I might bring this one up. The Afterglow.
Afterglow. You have to have Afterglow after you have Wicked Women.
So what I was going to say is, like, I know it's really personal for all of us today. We all come from our own pain and situations, and thank you for sharing your stories, because it is painful and it's not always easy to share, so I do appreciate that. Keith, if you'd like to come on and join us, you're absolutely welcome.
We love you, Keith.
We love you, Keith. I'm going to bring, I know Michael's waiting in the wings. I'm hoping Phil Guy, he promised he'd come on today, so I'm no excuses, because he was on Scotty's show and I was like, you're in the comments, but you need to come on. And also Scotty said he was going to listen on the way back. So let's just bring in the lovely Michael to begin with. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
It's a little more casual today. His like Val said, it's raining outside. It's just a crappy day. You got to try to stay warm. Canada's warmer than we are. So
come over here, guys. Come visit the heat.
Hello, Keith.
Good. How you doing?
No, you're talking about ghosting family. It's hard to ghost family when you live too close. They just come knock on your door. And yeah, Wendy has saw that. I have walked away from a lot of family, and next thing you know, they're knocking on your door like the police, and it's like, really, can't you get the hint? I walked away from you for a reason. The dog here, she ain't doing her job. She's more of a lap dog than a guard dog.
But I think some people don't get the hint. No, anything like this, they don't get the hint. So have you ever ghosted someone, Michael? I mean, as in ghosted, as in you had to stop talking to that person, or you moved away with them?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of my family out of my life about 3 years ago, and I have done a whole lot better. It was just cut them out. I told him, I said, this is a surgical strike. This is almost like an operation. I said, you're cancer in my life. You're bringing me down. You had no benefit to it. So why are you around? You just, basically sucking up energy that I could put to someone else. And, I don't think I've ever ghosted a woman on a dating site or whatever. Because, I just think that would be asinine and not very genteel to do. I have to tell them, say, look, it's not you, it's me, and we need to move on. It just kind of,
there's a situation that Val and I would, and she'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's some people that come on your show or a show that are very toxic, and your energy is so because when we're doing these shows, we're getting everybody's different energies, and we have to stay grounded, all of us grounded. But Val and I know that we had a situation, and it was very, very stressful. And I was like, I can't go. I've got to go.
I know the one you're talking about. And
it was just like, person's probably really lovely, absolutely lovely. But it's like their energy is so draining and so toxic that you have to just go, right?
I know the one you're talking about. And, Milo, most times she lays in my lap. That woman's energy is so out there. The dog was digging at my stomach, like, come on, you just walk away from it. You don't need that phone. Just walk away from it. And she has never done that.
It was exhausting to not necessarily talk, but to just listen was exhausting.
And this one's and when you always say, she's like, oh, I am being calm. This is me calm. I'm thinking, wow, okay, holy hell.
It was very, the thing is, I think some people don't realize their energy. They don't realize that it comes across that way. And I think that it's, how do you actually say to somebody, it's affecting me like that? Keith, have you ever found that you've been around people that have that effect on you?
Absolutely.
Tell me about it.
Coworkers, customers. I worked at Napa for 25 years and working with the public every day. There are some days I would leave that store not physically tired, but just so mentally and energetically tired that I would just come home, sit on the couch and collapse. And, whoever I'm with at the time's like, well, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know. Back then I didn't know. Now I do know. Now I can shield up and prevent that from happening. Maybe put a little something in the shield to, kind of scoot them away from you. Energetic shielding can be very, 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 very handy, especially in Walmart. Just saying. Yeah, it's a thing.
I think we've all kind of, skirted around the aisle when we see someone. Please don't see me.
Hold it.
Yeah.
That's a very large thing you have in your hand, Carly. Show us what it is.
This is my zebra jasper obelisk.
Yes.
It is very good for the immune system. It is very good for your health. It is very good for positivity. But other than all the other amazing properties, my darn brain fog causes me to forget them. So I have a journal with all of my crystal properties written down because I have a lot. I've been collecting them over the years. And it was before shipping got out of control and the prices went jacked up. Thank you. It's huge.
I want to hold it.
I was just going to say, it was rather large, but it's beautiful.
They protect you. You wear them. You wear them when you go out. My tiger's eye is my most favorite.
Everyone's going to
I have turquoise myself.
Kay's surrounded by crystals in that room.
Yeah,
so
this office is like. This is the one I said.
Time to show the crystals off
for protection.
Look at that.
Holy
nice.
Oh, that looks like a pony.
Beautiful.
It's a pink amethyst, and it is like just incredible energy. My mom got it for me for a birthday present, and it's just unbelievable. And it has I can't remember what this is, something green up here, but yeah, this is really good protective energy in here. So
I like that.
keep it right on the corner of my desk.
You know, he's still in the comments, but he ain't coming on live. I want to go to Louisiana and drag him up by
Real
the
guy
shore.
needs to come in. Nick, I just seen you come on. Actually, if you can just chat with some people in the chat room, because before we bring you on, that would be great. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think we all have our crystals on because we're empaths, we're all spiritual people, but we're also with the counselling or whatever we do. This is the healing. And so you have to keep yourself grounded. And in a toxic situation, you lose that. And that's why I'm saying you have to get your power back so you're grounded. So you don't, Keith, I mean, like in your situation, did you ever ghost someone?
Yes.
And did you feel bad about doing it?
No. The circumstances are more than likely why. A paranormal teammate that I had brought on ended up telling everybody she was helping everybody individually. Okay. However, we eventually figured out in the background she was causing division between all the team members. Why? To remove the team members from me, because she wasn't happening. We found out about it. We discussed things, in our own chat, and we figured it out, and we confronted her, and she lied about it. We had screenshots. We had proof, solid proof, and she still lied about it, put it on us. And waited a couple of days and said, you know what? These retrogrades are going on. I've got a lot going on. I'm healing from right now. I need to take a break from you. And she said, okay, block. I didn't just ghost. I gave her a legitimate, honest explanation of why I wasn't going to be in her life anymore. Mm-hmm. And then I exited it, and I ain't looked back.
Sorry, I just had to just take care of something. But I find out of all our experiences, the word is sometimes I've had to do it and I didn't want to do it, right? And I think looking back, it's like the most horrible thing you have to do sometimes is walk away from a situation that you're going to hurt, they're going to hurt. It's going to leave that horrible feeling between you. And as Carly said tonight, it's a very personal subject. All of us, in one way or the other, have been ghosted, been the ghost star, text, whether it's through texting or not speaking to them on the phone. And we've all been in toxic loves. And Keith and Michael, as two guys, what would your advice be to somebody, start with you, Keith, who's in a toxic relationship, what would needs or the ghoster, what would be your advice from a guy?
As me being the ghoster or the ghostee?
If your advice was to someone who's being ghosted or in that toxic situation.
First of all, I would explain to them, you need to sit down with yourself, go inside, look inside. Did you do anything, say anything to cause this situation? Be honest with yourself. If you did, own it. Let's figure this out. If you didn't, chances are it's something they did that they're running from, that they are too afraid to admit that they did, that you may know about, you may have confronted them about. My last relationship is a prime example. I was being controlled, manipulated to the point where I had crawled into a box. I was not myself. Didn't want to wake her up in the morning, didn't want to come home at noon, did not want to go home after work, because as soon as I did, I would get my cued for something that I knew nothing about. My phone would make a noise. I would get ripped apart about who it was. There was one night, it was actually Casey's. It's a convenience store with a pizza offer. I'm like, do you want a pizza? Here, that's what this is. And I finally, I sat back with myself. I looked inside. I'm like, dude, you are not you. This is not happening again. You promised yourself you would not do this again. And I confronted her about it. And she went off the handle and accidentally admitted that she had been baiting me into arguments to try to cause me to hit her so she could be a victim.
Wow. Huge.
The next day I sat her down and said, you know what? We need a break. This is too much. I need to get this and this figured out. You need to get this and this figured out so we can figure out if we can work this out or not. I offered to go stay at my son's about 15 minutes away. She could stay at the rental. And she blew up and accused me of kicking her out on the street. I gave up everything for you, blah, blah. You know the story. And I left because she was trying to start another argument. The next day, she informs me that she is moving to Texas to one of her friends who has a furnished apartment. I'm like, that's a big break, but okay. And she's like, what? I'm like, okay, if that's what you need to do, let's get you there. Next day, I brought home packing boxes. I helped her pack her things. I loaded her vehicle for her. Got it all in there. I don't know how in the hell I did it, but I did it. Put the address in her GPS, plugged it into her vehicle so it came up on her screen, taught her how to check her tires, her oil, which she already knew and she lied about. But anyway, that's another story. And I watched her drive down the road, and this weight lifted off of my shoulders. And then that night, she called me to let me know she got there okay. Everything was great. You know, as long as her new landlord was right in the room. As soon as the landlord left, she would try to start an argument with me. I'm like, no, we're not doing this. The second time she did it, I'm like, almost said her name, not saying the name. I'm not arguing with you. If you'd like to talk some more, call me tomorrow. Good night. And I hung up. Instantly blocked. And then I found out 2 hours after she got off the phone with me, she was calling her ex to come get her. It's crazy. It's nuts. But I ended up reverse ghosting her after I realized she blocked me on everything. Whatever I could find her on, I blocked her back. That way she can't get back a hold of me.
Yeah, that's a very good topic. Sorry to interrupt, just to bring up that point. What happens if we're talking about when they don't answer our messages, but what if they do block us on social media and we've been friends with them and everything's been fine and great, and all of a sudden there's got to be a reason sometimes when you have to block someone, because maybe it's detrimental to your health, maybe that person is acting crazy or in a toxic way that you don't want to be a part of. But then sometimes it can just be with someone that you thought, well, I didn't do anything. I didn't think I reacted or anything. So you're right, social media. I didn't think that.
You know, we had an incident here a while back where I had a long-term friend that just went off the fucking rails. And I had to end up blocking them because they was bringing nothing to me. And all of a sudden, you know, the ones who know. Like I said, it went from one thing, then it started bleeding over into other people's life that I was connected to. So I'm like, no, you know, you don't want to shit in the friendship canoe. You got to go. And you know, was it easy? No. But did it have to be done for my mental health and the people around me? Yes. And they will learn from their mistakes. Don't be the crazy one in the boat.
You know, years ago, I would have probably went nuts trying to figure out what did I do, you know, what caused this and all that. But where I am now, you know, I pretty much say, okay, that situation fixed itself.
Yeah.
You know, if they block me, it doesn't bother me anymore.
Sarah was mentioning in the comments about it happens with narcissism. That was actually something I was going to talk about earlier on in the show, which is really interesting because a narcissist or somebody that has antisocial behavior type oftentimes will use the ghosting in a relationship as a way to keep the control. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a permanent place of ghosting, but it's like, okay, I'm going to have them here. Then I'm going to ghost them a bit because I want to have these other options. And then I'm going to take that power back and I'm going to dip back into their life again and give them some sort of, you know, what's it called again? Love bombing or things to make them feel loved and seen and needed again. And then bam, and then they do it all over again. And really what that creates is trauma bonding. And that's a whole other ballgame. But it's like that person just continuously recapitulates that toxic behavior, making it even harder for the person that's being ghosted to leave because they keep going, oh, but they see me again, and I feel loved, and I don't feel this sense of rejection. I'm feeling whole again, and then it happens, and they just get addicted to that cyclical cycle, and that's how narcissists win within that. So thanks for bringing that up, Sarah.
I am not a toy you can throw in the junk drawer in the kitchen and get out whenever you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I tell them. I say, it's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And
Carly's like,
yes.
And Carly's there. Like I said, I always thought I was the outspoken one, like the bad one, and then Carly shows up and it's like, well, I look almost sane.
She's just
and
Almost.
Yeah, just a little bit, but anyway, and but y'all was talking about the dating sites, and I heard a woman tell me one time it's like digging through the trash to find something useful when you get to a certain age. And I thought, wow, I never looked at it like that. But it's like the island of discarded toys from the Christmas movies years and years ago. We used to have it in the States. Like I said, I don't know how it is in Canada or the UK, but here it's like, well, she looks pretty good, but there's probably some man out there somewhere that said, I cannot stand any more of this bitch. And it rolled out. And you're thinking, but then when they show up, and I've had this conversation, and like I said, if you know, I get asked a lot of questions, and I'm very honest with them. And it's like, well, was you a good husband to your previous wives? I'm like, I thought so, but at the end of the day, the same, denomination in all these relationships are me.
Mm-hmm.
Did I pick shitty women? Was I a shitty husband? Was it a combination of both? And finally, after I got a certain age, I'm like, fuck it, I'm getting a dog and a big TV.
I did.
Like I said, you see her.
Is that like a man thing?
That's it.
Go get a big TV.
And this is what's crazy. And Wendy saw this the other day. Ain't neither one of the dogs here are small. They're both big old pit bulls. Which anybody knows about a pit bull. They're a big old bundle of love. They will lick you to death. But I'm thinking, if I'm walking this big old fuzzy dog, just people will get out of my way and leave me alone. And what do? They run up. Hey, can I pet your puppy? Look at this thing. He's a killer. Don't talk to me. Then it's like, oh, I want to pet your puppy, because I was on the phone with Wendy, and I had to run into Lowe's to get paint, and I want to be in and out. I have Poseidon, which he done really, really well. And he's a friendly puppy. He's like 7 months old, but he's bigger than my female. And the girl that was supposed to be checking me out was hollering, oh, puppy, puppy, puppy. And here he goes. So much for a guard dog. He throws his paws on the counter like, hey, pet me, pet me, pet me. You're supposed to be keeping people back away from me.
I think we all own. Keith, do you own an animal? Do you own an animal?
Yeah, I've got a chow chow. Her name is Freya.
Oh my God, I had chows my whole life.
They are wonderful dogs.
I had 4 of them.
They're all fuzzy.
Third. On my third.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome.
I like
Actually,
pussies.
they have very much cat-like behaviors. Like I feel like they don't need as much love and attention. Not attention, but they kind of come when they want all the coddling, and then they leave when they're done. They're so cool though. That's awesome.
Stubborn too. They are stubborn.
Yeah.
They know how to sit. Will they? If they want to.
Yes. It's like, don't try training them. It's not going to happen.
It does make you feel like the animal, like with my one, it's sometimes you just literally turn to your furry friend, if I may say that, because, you get fed up with human beings, right? And as Roger quite says, he's got a small TV and cats, right?
Yeah.
So
I was looking for one of my pussies to show you guys.
I was here to love that topic.
Oh,
Girl, I'm a Scorpio. Don't do that.
But I'm sorry, guys. Apparently, my pussies do not want to be on cam tonight. They're all hiding. You heard him scream earlier. He came through mid-show, and he was all prancing with his tail up in the air going, meow, meow. Now that I go and look for him, he's gone.
He
doesn't want to be on the Afterglow.
No, he doesn't. He wanted to be on the main show. He's an attention.
Val and I talked about a couple months ago, actually, we were talking about you know, when people do OnlyFans and they do things like that as well, but it's like there's a woman out there, and I'm bringing this up because it just came to mind. Men send pictures of their anatomy to them, and they basically have to she basically gives them scores and everything, and they pay her to do it. And I was like, we need to do this on this show. We need to say
that's the job. That's the job right there.
Okay.
Let's just so it's really.
Wait, are we starting a Wicked Women OnlyFans? Is that what you just said? Where was this going? What direction are we going, Wendy?
Definitely do a Wicked Women calendar, and I've been talking about this with Scotty of trying to bring up the calendar for ones that do this regularly. We've got our own show. Val's got her show. I've got mine. I've got Scotty's got his. KB's got his. We can incorporate it, but because we've all, like Val and I, are hoping to see each other soon, so that we can actually have a photograph in Carly in I don't know how I'm going to get over to Canada and all at the same time, but it's like, it would be great to have one where we can all be, even if we're not in the same room, they can put us in the same photograph.
Right.
And use it for charity, because
there you go.
I think there might be a few people that might want it. And I think Scotty's got great ideas. Carly and Val with their pussies,
If we could even figure out, a picture and have each of us stand a certain way and then put them together.
Oh, speaking of crazy cat ladies, how many pussies are running around your house, Val? Roger. 5.
5.
Oh, sorry, Phil.
5 if you include my outside one too. I got 5 too.
Okay, I gotta
I
jump
have
in.
5.
I gotta jump in real quick. The pics. I actually, somewhere on my phone, I actually have a picture of a guitar pick that says DIC on it, so I can only send a dick pic if somebody asks for it.
Exactly.
I'll allow that.
Shuts them right up.
That's awesome.
That is a whole show on its own, isn't it? The dick pics, because that's maybe another subject we could look at, is why so many people
literally
have to send a photograph.
It's an attention thing.
Send your pics. No, I'm just
Sounds like send
all
them
the
this
viewers
way.
out there, whatever topics you think you want to hear from us, please put it in the comments. We'd love
Absolutely.
to hear what
let
you
us
want to know.
All right. I'm sending it to you, Wendy.
That's what I mean is, thank you, Michael. I'll check that out later on. Like, literally, if there are subjects that you want us to talk about, we don't care. We'll talk about them as well, right?
Renee.
Hey, where did Phil Guy go? You know what I'm saying? Phil Guy has.
Pet the kitty.
Hashtag pet the kitty returned.
Inside
Oh my God, I swear.
Phil Guy said, I only send my butt. I swear. Where are you, Phil Guy? I'm not gonna. You should come on before we finish.
Come on, Field Guy.
You got about 15 minutes. Get your shit together.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to go sit in my car because my phone is dying.
Excuse me.
You don't have a charger to plug into the wall?
Honey, I'm at my daughter's house, and I ran out of the house. Didn't get it.
Everybody says, what do you bring to the show? Valerie does not bring tardiness. That is for sure.
Hey, Michael.
I know. Today's your day.
Hey, I tell you, this is what you do. You get yourself what I call a severance purse. The movie, or Labyrinth, the movie Labyrinth.
Okay?
Oh, yeah. So your phone can go in this pocket, okay? So the second pocket.
At least it's not pouring rain now.
The second pocket, you have a battery charger to charge your phone. Yep. Then you got your third pocket your extra vape, and your bag of crystals, because you can never go anywhere without your bag of chakra crystals. And then lastly, you have the final pocket where I can put my AirPods while they charge and leave it plugged into my purse. And then wait, you can put some cards in it. So this is what you got to do. You get yourself a purse like this. You get yourself a battery pack. You keep it charged. And
I had one a long time ago, but
Boom, shoom,
I'm
boom.
usually at the house, but last time I brought it with me, but this time I just forgot.
The thing is, I have a bag like the TARDIS because I put everything of crap
Me
in there.
too.
I have to carry
Figure on
everything.
the
I have
inside.
a second bag, Wendy. I have a second purse.
Mine's like-
This is just my small purse.
Yeah, well, you guys carry a big bag. I remember you have a lot.
I do. Like,
Wait.
it's a backpack and it's got like everything in it. And obviously, if I'm over here, Henry's stuff. But I have to like come in on my fellow colleague there. I'm always late in my personal life. Always. I run so fucking late in my personal life.
I'm like
I'm terrible.
on time everywhere.
15 minutes early.
Lying.
If you're on time, you're late.
Totally lying.
That's what the Army taught me. If you're
That's
on
not
time,
what I
you're late.
use my battery pack for, Steph.
Steph says it's not what I used
I
to
love
do.
you, Steph. Honestly, Steph, I don't think this would have enough power in it to keep one of those bad boys going. Just saying.
I did have a comment that was sent to us about they do want us to talk more about the battery operated boyfriend and such things like that. And I'm sure
they liked my Bob reference. They liked the Bob reference, did they?
they do, right?
Okay, I got a question on that.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask it the last time you were talking about it, and I forgot to. Okay, the guy's watching porn. Okay, isn't it Bob in a roundabout sort of way? Couldn't that be a similar thing for females? You know, they're using their Bob, maybe thinking about somebody else other than their partner, or maybe they're thinking about their partner while the guy's on porn trying to find a female version that looks like their partner to fantasize if there's, you know, some reason they can't perform, what have you. I mean, that could be a whole show right there.
Oh, they did that on Robertson and Robinson. When does fantasy become?
Yeah.
What was it? It was the whole fantasy thing. It was
What
they
do we
did
think
that.
it's about that question about porn? I'll let you answer that. Off you go. Off you go.
Did me on porn?
Do you think, like, one by one, I'll start with Carly because I like to go around. She's like, oh, you always do it to me. Carly, do you think that what Keith is saying, you've got a point about the porn as well as the BOB?
Definitely. Well, absolutely. Most certainly. And that's the worst part about it is, all right, you don't know. Do you know? Are they thinking about you or are they thinking about somebody else while they're using their Bob or battery operated boyfriend or while they're using you, your penis? I mean, my quote app just came in and said, wake up, work out, kick ass, and repeat. So, I mean, we'll just start with saying that. It all depends. And that's the worst part is you don't really know. Do you?
Okay.
What's that? What's my comment on it?
Yeah, what's your comment on it?
Do women watch porn, and what do they think about when they're watching porn?
I mean, I watch it. I don't think there's a problem with it. I know, and you know what? It's interesting because it's a pretty big topic as of lately in the spiritual community. I've seen a lot of male coaches per se come on and talk about how, you know, they had to break the addiction, all that. I think whatever floats your boat, if that's something that evokes more connection in you or to make you more in tune with yourself, whatever. I think if it starts to become a problem and it's all you're thinking about during the act, that's when it's an issue because it's like you need that to have your final product. That's when it becomes a problem is like you can't be present because that's what you need for the, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Pleasure. Completion.
For the stimulation. You need that for the stimulation. So I think in that sense, it can kind of, because it's not, porn is not necessarily real sex. It is and it isn't. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you're watching something that is in many ways falsified. So, but yeah, I don't think it's a problem for women to do it unless it becomes an addiction, and same goes for men.
You know,
Val? Sorry, we'll get to you, Michael, one sec, Val.
I mean, I agree with Kay. Honestly, and it sounds kind of, I don't know, it just sounds kind of rough, but if I'm getting the benefit, I really don't care what he's thinking about.
Good.
You
I
know.
do. He better be thinking about me. That's all I got to say.
Well, I mean, you know, nobody's ever going to really know. You know, I don't. It doesn't bother me. I don't care as far as what's in his mind at the time. He's with me as long as he doesn't, you know, go cheat with someone. I don't care who he's thinking about when he's with me. I'm getting the benefit.
Michael.
I'm looking at the comments, and there was one over here that said that that porn is not healthy, and you know, it's like junk food or whatever. You know, most time they ask me, "What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about porn?" I'm like, "No, I'm thinking about doing my taxes." You know, the whole saying, the guys you say, "Think about baseball. Think about, you know, what was her name, Barbara Bush or whatever, or the lady from the UK, the one, Margaret Thatcher." Yeah, they're like, "Oh, how can you last 9 hours? You just got to put your mind somewhere else. Think of the most mundane thing other than where you're at. It's like, got to do my taxes. Oh, I'm here." It's like, oh, how can you go 28 hours? Say
Easily.
Okay, I may get offended if you're thinking about doing your taxes.
No, I'm talking about if you want to last like for like 9 hours in bed.
That might offend me because, you know.
Yeah. So you want a 2-pump chump? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, you know.
I'm saying, you know, like I said, most time women, you know, and it's like most time they say, "Oh, what is he thinking about? He's thinking about cheating." Most time, if a woman could live inside of a guy's head for like 30 minutes, they'd be emotionally scarred for life. It's like you're thinking about the time you blew up the beach ball with like propane with your buddies, and somebody, you know, lost a finger. You know that, and I got a really good comment. You know, and I was told, no matter what is put in front of me, it has no effect. You know what I'm saying? I'm 50, I'll be 51 in June the 6th. You know, so I've been there. You know, I've done it. You know, I've done it. I've got the T-shirts. I wear the scars on my body every day. You know what I'm saying? And it takes a lot to make me say, "What the fuck?" And Jesus Christ, you know, and you know, like I said, when you can continue, you know, it takes a lot to shock me or make me speechless. It does. And a lot of times, you know, people can smell me like, "Oh, that's nice, cool."
Well, I can understand it because I mean, I was an Ann Summers rep years ago, which obviously I did sex parties, what you guys would call sex parties, but over here it's all very classy. But I did it, and
Much more classy.
I was 25 when I did it. Like, what the hell did I really know at 25? And I was still learning. And I heard some choice things back then, Keith. Let me tell you, like when they started asking me for certain things, I was
apparatuses.
Really? Like, really?
So you got the 4-foot anal beads with a ball gag. Does it come in black?
So I actually think the answer to that is, you know, we're all different, but I think women do like porn. But I think also, like, that's a huge subject that could go on to many different topics. But yeah, I think if you watch it, it can definitely refresh the parts that other beers can't reach. And also it can excite the whole moment, and it's like you got something to watch if you don't, you know, if you're just getting a bit bored, you're just like, hey, this is good. So,
you know, bored as in your partner's thinking about doing his taxes.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I can do my taxes. I can picture the deck being built on the front of the house, and I still get it in. You got to be, the ADHD helps. I can do 3 things at once. I can be watching YouTube.
But think about how good you could do that one if you wasn't thinking about your deck and your taxes.
Boom! Kaboomies!
Most women can't take it. But anyway, actually,
that was a good one.
You just wait. Hey, wait till you see my tax return. But anyway, focus is the key.
Answer your question, Keith. Did that answer it?
What's that?
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
I'll mansplain it to you real quick. Porn is a tool. Use responsibly. Do not jerk your little willy till it's bleeding. Use lotion. Vaseline's your friend if you jerk off a lot.
YouTube just went, really?
Don't you remember when I come on Scotty's show, I give a triple X forewarning. I say triple X.
Well, Wicked Women already got a warning last week because the photograph I used of the bottom of all it was the buttocks.
I saw it.
I'm sorry. That was my butt. That was my
and it
butt.
was like a warning, and I was like, hello, there's no sex going on. It's a bottom, and if you go through YouTube, you'll see loads of stuff with bums, boobs and everything. But no,
but
it was.
I can't believe you got a warning.
You know what?
They
You know what that was?
Brazilian wax thing on YouTube.
What was that? Sorry, what was it, Carly?
That's somebody being jealous. That's what that was. That's somebody being a jealous little hater because they didn't get on the show or they didn't get talked about. And
there's a few of those around that we know of for sure, yeah.
And they're just not cool enough. So instead of being a real woman and coming up to you and saying something, they have to be a pussy little bitch and report you on YouTube.
Well, I think YouTube kind of pays attention to new shows too.
Yeah.
New
they have
YouTube shows. I think they kind of
go by algorithms.
Yeah. I might have to hide the bottoms in future, but definitely. And the thing is, it actually does say this is not for children. This is not for children. I'm
gonna come with my triple X warning at the beginning. It's just gonna cover it all, Wendy. It's triple X. It's not rated R. It's triple X. So all children go to bed.
I'm looking at YouTube right now, and there's 3 likes. How hard is it to hit the like button and share?
Are you for real?
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell.
One of those is me.
The share button.
Me too.
The like button.
Cody, go hit the like button.
Yeah.
Just, act.
Come on.
That's it.
Mark always says spank. My friend of mine, Mark English, he does really well. He does these great videos. He spends a lot of time making these really great, little podcasts for people. And, a lot of people don't realize the amount of work. Like I was saying at the beginning of the show, we all do our research. We don't just come on here going, it's Sunday, let's go on, just saying. We all do our research and we put our effort into it and we speak from the heart. So, that's how it works.
Come at me, bro.
Come at me, bro.
Come at me, bro. I come with my
Carly
stuff
lives
prepared.
on the corner. Fuck around and find out.
Yep.
Yeah, you want to know where Carly located? Yeah, that's where it is.
I am
I see 7 likes. All right, done. All right. There was more people in the chat. I'm gonna have to start getting a hold of these people and shaking them, give them shaking baby syndrome.
Do it.
I like.
A lot of times if I go to get my hair cut or whatever, I'll tell the lady, because my hair, you need to check this out on Sunday. You ain't doing shit else. You need to watch this on YouTube.
And I do it now. Like, it was me at the convention last week. Wicked Women 888, Wicked Women 888. And the thing is, like, people do watch it, but sometimes they watch it the next morning, especially in the UK, because it's late at night. So that's why I don't expect many to watch it in the UK probably till next morning. But I think it's really good that we've had a couple of guys come on and join us. And Keith, you're always a welcome here.
Thank you.
Because like we all talked about you after we all talked about the men after they came off the show, and we were like, it was rather nice having him. We need Ken. He hasn't come on yet. Like, I'm just saying.
Yeah, right.
He's still having a little trouble talking, so
we just need him like here, doing the
wave and go.
The looks. And
Yeah.
Scotty, obviously we have bollocked about today. We did actually say the word bollock, and we did actually say to him, you better get your ass on the show. And he said, I'm going to.
Booting 2 boots in the ass. No, but like I said, and I tell the guys, if you want to know the inner workings of women's minds, just not from one region, they're all over. I'm saying? This is international. This is northwest. Okay, what part of Canada you're probably? I forget.
Western Canada.
Yeah, Canada. Kentucky's thin. I'm thinking that's more West Coast, right? More Western Coast. But anyway, Southern. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if you cannot take something away from it as a man, I tell them, they're giving you the code. Everybody's talking about. Phil Guy said, I need a cipher key. This is your cipher key. All thing you have to do is show up, get you a pen.
Yeah, we're not talking in, hieroglyphics.
Yeah, it's like,
We're just telling you outright.
Yeah, women like it when you do this. Send flowers. Don't be a dick. Don't ghost.
This is why I watch the show and why I come on.
Is it that hard?
Before I came on, I can make a joke about that, but I'm not going to. Scorpio brain hit. Sorry.
Before I came, yeah.
When I was sitting here getting ready to, go on the show, I found myself sitting here almost a little jittery because all the things that I've been healing from for decades were brought right back up. All the ghosting, all the abandonment. Mm-hmm. However, I was able to. I didn't let it get to me. I'm like, you've healed from this. You've healed from this. You've healed from this. You got this. You can talk about this. You've talked about it before. What are you nervous about? And then I calm right down and boom. Okay, here I am. I'm ready to do this.
And as I said, it takes a lot of guts to come on and share.
Well, we're here for support, not to judge.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm healing. This helps my healing process. This helps me to see that I have healed from other things. So I appreciate what you ladies do. I really do. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
And like I said,
Means a lot.
like I said, it's in the community between now with Wicked Women. It started with Coffee with KB, Robertson. Ken was sick, and we rotated in and out the show Ken to Love, and now he's doing better. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think Ken likes to sit in the side seat that much. You know what I'm saying? Ken wants to be the captain. And,
well, Ken likes to talk, and when he can't talk the way he wants to, it bothers him.
Yeah,
it frustrates him.
And but like I said, and like she said, we're here for support, and that's the reason I tell people support Wicked Women, just like you do Scotty's show, or then on Tuesdays when you have Robertson, support it. Hit the like button.
Share it.
Me, it's free. You know what I'm saying? It is free to like and share.
And obviously Val has her show on a Saturday as well, like from her Facebook page.
No, she's been MIA. She's ghosted her audience.
No,
She'll be back. The
weather has killed my fibro. That's what's problem.
And the thing is, I think what it is that we all get used to. We're actually are quite a loyal crowd. We tend to watch each other, and we tend to be there for each other. And we're like, where are you gone? I miss you. Like we miss that show. And we're just starting off. Wicked Women is just starting off. This is our 5th show. We're still tweaking it. We're still like, messing around. Well, I am still messing around with graphics and stuff like that. And we want to take it further. I mean, we already talked about key rings, cups, all that T-shirts, all that kind of stuff. So we've got plans.
Do it.
Merchandise.
As soon as I can get little pictures, I'll be making, different epoxy things as well.
Like I said,
I got a pretty
hard.
Singles website. I really do. Start a singles website.
Got an address.
People.
Really?
And you got an address for your stuff now? Like I said, I've been on Val pretty hard. I've been taking her to task for being late. So what?
I have a Macari page.
What is it? That's what I was going to say. Promote your website.
It's on my Facebook. I'll repost it.
Because she's got the pyramid she made.
I'll put it on here in future. And Kay's got a wonderful gadget, and I call it a gadget because it's not. But it's the lamp. Lamp.
I was going to say, and beside the Bob, Kay's wonderful gadget. Yeah, that's like Tracy's dog. If you don't know what that is, look it up.
Yes.
What was it you said, Keith, about a single? What was it you said?
I think y'all ought to start a singles site.
Wicked
That's
Women.
what Field Guy told us. Field Guy told us we needed to start one, and I was like, okay, we will. Remember I said that.
You know what? That's a very good idea because the Bumble was started by a woman. And, I actually think we probably could start a dating app, and we would just have to find someone, obviously, to do the app for us or whatever, but on all the bits and pieces and stuff. But it's a good idea.
Help me find a healed, non-crazy partner. Wendy, you are a pond from me. Oh,
I've got so many English friends over here that would love to date someone from America or from Canada. So at the end of the day, like, I can always put a few, feelers out there for sure.
Wicked Women's International Friend Finder.
I like that.
Wicked Women's Wiener Finder. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, Wiener Finder. Yeah.
That's
I
a good
couldn't help it.
a matchmaking show. That would be quite interesting, wouldn't it? I'm
But,
not quite sure.
we can't find Phil Guy a match if we don't never show his face.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
need
Phil Guy.
next week, Phil Guy. No excuses.
Carly,
You've got
I
to-
want to put you on that. Be like Wendy's other Basset Hound. Track him down, drag him on.
I'll track him down. Phil Guy, I'm coming for you. You better look out. I got his personal text. I will text you, Phil Guy.
Cool.
Blow him up. Blow him up.
Oh my God, guys! I'm going to say wrap the show up, but please stay with me, all of you. Stay with me while we go to the credits. But listen, thank you to everybody that watched tonight, wherever you come from. I hope we've made a difference, even if it's just a small one. And I want to say thank you to my fellow Wickeds, the lovely Val. That she's always. It's always a pleasure to work with Val. We are so soul sisters from another mother. So, and the lovely Kay, likewise, and the lovely Carly. I love you both dearly. And Michael and Keith, thank you so much for coming on. I think that the guy bit at the end is really cool.
Thank you very much. It's a I was gonna say pleasure, but it is the word is escaping me. It's
Fun.
I'm just
It's
really,
pleasurable,
yeah.
Enlightening.
enlightening, hardening,
I'm grateful to be able to be here.
moisturizing, and
Jergens.
Well, as I
Jergens
said,
jerkin lotion.
Everybody
Awesome.
enjoys
Good one.
themselves. We will be back next week, probably with a very interesting topic after this show's things coming there. So very quickly, watch out for Scotty Roberts, who's on YouTube and Facebook, and he's there, I think, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock UK and 4 o'clock, I think. Is it 4 and 5?
5
Yeah.
o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central Time.
Yeah.
Robertson, it'd be good to be back with him because we've had a weeks off because we've both been not great. And then on Saturday, the lovely Valerie Rasnake on Facebook, and hopefully KB during the week. I always like to plug everybody else because we're a family. Well, we at least like to think we are.
Dysfunctional, but we're a family. Dysfunctional as fuck.
Absolutely.
I love it.
We're very supportive of each other, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
We
Yes.
are. Even if we always don't agree with each other and we're not always
Right.
on the same team, even if we bollock each other, we're a team. And that's the thing. So until next week, take care of yourself, as Jerry Springer always said, and each other. And we'll see you next week.